So.
Okay. You good? Hello, welcome everyone. We've got really good numbers today. This is great. Thank you for coming along. So this is Tech Jumpstart. So we offer a space basically where anyone can come along for free to meet tech professionals, to find out about careers in tech, to talk about skills and what sort of skills you need to get into work, and just basically try and bring down those walls to finding out about careers, and also make connections and allow you guys to chat to professionals. So really pleased you're here for this one. So we've done all sorts of different themes down the time, from data to software development to product to AI and all sorts of different things. So this time it's all about cybersecurity, and I'm really pleased to introduce my panel here, Daniel, Seth, and Az. Welcome. We'll get to hear from these guys really soon. First of all, I just want to kind of say a few things about what we're doing and introduce Cameron, who is going to tell you about Evolve and all the great things that Silicon Brighton are doing.
Nice. I'm just going to change over to the other camera. I won't bother getting up, but Dan can be my clicker. Thank you, Dan. My name's Cameron and I work for Silicon Brighton. We're a not-for-profit community of digital tech meetups. Just like Tech Jumpstart, we host events all across Brighton and Hove, being the host of the digital tech sector. We think it's a fantastic and open space where you can share ideas. And we also are hosting our very own event, Evolve, on the 4th of July. And we've launched a brand new initiative today where if you scan that QR code, it will take you to the ticket links. And we're offering half-price tickets with the Tech Jumpstart code as well. What's really cool about this is not only is it going to be not only is it a half-price ticket, but half of the value of that ticket will go directly to Tech Jumpstart to cover a lot of the there we go. It'll go directly back to Tech Jumpstart, which is fantastic for this community as well. Like, we are lucky to be sponsored by Runway East as well as Dab Apps for Tech Jumpstart, but that isn't the case for every meetup that we do. So just any additional sponsorship money, even just via attending Evolve, is going to be fantastic for the overall community. So we massively appreciate that as well. Can we go for the next slide, Dan? As I spoke about earlier, we have loads of different meetup groups as well across the digital tech space. Luckily, with Tech Jumpstart, we get to go across all of the meetup groups as well, and they are all equally as fantastic. So if you have any other interest in digital tech, which I'm sure you do today as you're here, definitely check some of those out. And speaking of sponsorships and supporters, we have loads of local businesses that all support what we do, which aid us to do all of the live streaming work as well, which is also fantastic. And just a special thank you to our sponsors who like our supporters, but are continuous donations and helping look after all that we do. We've got James Chase, as well as Plus Accounting and More Law. So thank you to all of those. And I think I've got one more slide coming up, which is just our Silicon Brighton link tree, which also gives you access to our Slack channels where the discussions don't have to stop here. They can carry on at home. And I think we've got a Tech Jumpstart Slack channel in there as well. So join that if you haven't already. And that's me. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Cameron. Our sponsors for this event are Dab Apps. They basically pay for the drinks that you're drinking. They couldn't make it down tonight, but they're a fantastic software development agency based in Brighton. They do loads for education and skills. They often offer work experience, particularly to the GB Met students. So well worth kind of looking out for them. And they're just really good people. They've worked with us a lot, actually, at Tech Native as well, where I work. So just a little bit of word about what I do. So I lead an organization called Tech Native Digital. We run a whole bunch of training programs, as well as doing Tech Jumpstart. We run boot camps essentially in tech, and we do a lot in software development that we've done over the last couple of years. We've just been lucky enough to win funding to offer free funded places across a range of tech areas. So we've got data analytics, we've got software development, we've got digital video production, and we've got artificial intelligence in its broadest sense about productivity at work. The kicker with some of the funding that we've got is, at the moment, it's restricted to where you live. So West Sussex are funding a lot of it. So a lot of those boot camps are West Sussex only, and the data one's East Sussex only. It's a bit ridiculous. And hopefully we can fund everyone soon. So if you live in West Sussex or East Sussex and you want to do any of those courses, come and talk to me. Katrina over there, Karina, sorry, is also running a software development bootcamp that Brighton people can do. So I would encourage you to speak to Karina if you get the opportunity afterwards. So the way we do this, we're going to have a short time up here, but the best time that we get is around these tables with you guys. So we have a quick chat up here and we'll get to know our guests. And then we're going to break out into tables, and we've got a few questions to work through. On your table is poster paper. So what I ask you to do when you run through those questions is someone just take like a scribe role and just write it all down. And then at the end we feedback, and that's a good way of learning, basically. And I'll take pictures of it and put it up on the Tech Jumpstart meetup page. So to my panel. So cybersecurity, it's not something that I have had a huge amount of involvement in. And before I met you guys, I was really interested chatting to you because you've all got different jobs and you all do different things, and cyber can mean many, many things. So it'd be really interesting to just go along the panel. If you could just introduce yourself and just say a little bit about, one, your role, and two, a little bit about your personal journey into cybersecurity and how you got to where you are today.
Role, I started as a developer back in '79, doing assembler on small microprocessors, and that was an escape from where I was. So it's something you're good at and very lucrative. So from there on, it's just been a series of technology jobs, mainly programming, bad systems I've lived off. Basically refactoring systems that don't work. That actually leads very well into cybersecurity, because dysfunctional systems basically are very lucrative, and the whole of the internet is fairly dysfunctional at the moment. So you've got lots of opportunity if you look at it in the right way. At the moment, I do finance, so it's money, pensions, and share dealing. So security is required for payments gateways. So again, it's who you do it for will give you a very good career as well.
Thanks. Thank you, Raz.
Hi, my name's Seth King. I work at Nomura International, which is a Japanese investment bank. It's big in Japan, not so big here. And at Nomura, I work in the information security department, but specifically in the cyber threat intelligence team. So I'm a threat intelligence analyst by background. That's how I worked in law enforcement to start with, initially in the sort of drugs area. Then I got into cyber crime investigations, and then about 10 years ago, I left law enforcement and I moved into the finance sector and into cybersecurity, which I thought I knew everything about cyber because I've worked in cyber investigations, so I must know cyber. But then it turned out that actually cybersecurity is something much wider, much bigger than investigations in some ways. I was at the Bank of England for about 7 years, did a number of different cybersecurity roles there. Still always sort of mainly focused on the threat assessment, intelligence assessment side, but still it gave me exposure to a wide range of what cybersecurity means. And now, about 2 years ago, I left there and went to Nomura, and again, while mainly focused on the cyber threat intelligence side of things, I've got getting exposure to a range of different functions. So I've kind of got a view of what cybersecurity means in the private sector.
Amazing. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So my name's Daniel Sykes. I am a Cyber Protect Officer for both Surrey and Sussex Police. I'm part of a broader regional cybercrime unit, but I deal with what we call CMA offences. Anyone heard of that term before? CMA? Computer misuse? Yeah, someone's nodding their head. So that's basically where criminals gain unauthorized access to accounts and add profiles, whatever it may be. We deal with cyber criminals. We have a pursuit team who will investigate crime. My role is a bit more proactive, so I go out to community groups, faith groups, charities, businesses, providing free, or I like to say fully funded, cybersecurity awareness training as a free public service. My journey is I'll define it as grit, really. I've been in the force about 7 years now, and as I'm sure some of you have noticed, it's very difficult to get into cybersecurity as a beginner. A lot of people kind of work in industry for a few years and they kind of transition to it. And my journey is no different. It's slightly unique in that I joined in like an IT role, like an admin role in the police. Did that for a couple of years. I applied for my current job 5 years ago. I didn't get it. Like, I was rejected. They said, no, you've got no qualifications. You're not used to it. You're not the good person for the job. And they were right. But I asked them after my interview, my unsuccessful interview, what could I do to improve? And they actually liked my grit a little bit, and they actually offered me a voluntary job. And I did that for about a year, concurrent with my other job in the police. Then a year later, I reapplied and I got the job, and I've been there ever since. So it's quite a unique entryway into this field.
So, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Dan. So 3 really different journeys that you've been on, and as yours seems more technical, that you're about systems and processes and the software, and actually getting into the machine and making it safe.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
So I've done the round. So governance, compliance, audit, that side of things as well. So I'll get very bored very quickly. So I have to context switch. I mean, I thrive on change. The latest one is AI. So It doesn't stop. It's very good fun.
It would be good to chat. It'd be good to chat about that around the tables as well. Did you say you started in '79? Did I hear you say?
Yeah. I mean, I'll claim to fame is I've got an item in the Science Museum in London.
Yeah.
I looked in the cabinet there, and I nearly fell over when I saw one of my program systems in there.
Was it like the computers in the Italian job? You know, when the reels are turning and the lights.
I have worked on those systems, but this was a microprocessor.
Yeah.
It's ahead of its time. It was
Wow.
It's a small one for the Met Police.
Yeah, interesting. And you guys seem to be more about people and behaviours. Is that kind of fair?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So I don't want to speak for Daniel, but in terms of the way I come into cybersecurity, and what I'm still doing in cybersecurity is mainly focused on the threats. So, and the threat actors and who out there is trying to get in and hack into us. So yeah, it's trying to understand those behaviors, those attackers, and then how can that guide our defensive work?
Yeah, and I would say that I lean more on the cultural side of things. Fundamentally, one of the things I think we all forget is that cybersecurity is boring for most people. And I think we often neglect that fact. So my biggest challenge in law enforcement is getting SMEs, businesses, and community groups to just do the basics. And so much of that comes down to communication skills. So yes, I would say absolutely. There's all kinds of different areas in cyber you can go into. But behavior change is a common theme throughout, because no matter what role you're in, being able to communicate is essential.
Thanks. And that actually leads on to my last question before we break out is, and you kind of just covered a little, but what are the key skills you think are needed to be successful in cybersecurity?
And they all talk about people, processes, and technology, and it hasn't changed in 40 years. So it's people, process, and technology. So now, with the advent of AI, it's very disruptive. So you've got a disruptive set of change at amplified speed, which is changing everything you can possibly do and produce. That's really quite destabilizing in an organization. So that hits a person and the way they behave and what they think.
I think I'm going to have to be a bit wishy-washy and sit on the fence and say there's a whole range of different skills. It's such a varied field. If you talk about cyber, which, yeah, it's cyber security, information security. It's yeah, you can come at it as we've seen. You can come at it from a lot of different angles, and as a field, it requires lots of different skills. So I think there's room for a lot of variety. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think analytical skills are quite important as well. So identifying, what are the threat vectors? What are we defending against? What are cyber criminals doing? And what steps can we take to mitigate them? So I think understanding those things and being able to prioritize them is a really important skill set. And just what I mentioned earlier, obviously, if you're in the governance, risk compliance element of cyber, your communication skills are absolutely essential, because it's not so much identifying the threat, it's being able to communicate the danger to a senior leadership team and getting them to take it into account, which is obviously easier said than done.
Okay, I'm gonna I'm good, because I really think that AI needs to be spoken about when we go around, but I didn't have a specific AI question, so I'm going to ask it here. Is AI petrifying you that you can now create lifelike videos, sounds, voice? You can crack things. You can use AI to decode. Is this destabilizing the industry? Where do you think the industry is going now with the rapid development of AI?
The fake employee is something that is occurring more and more, with a remote person that then goes through this. And there's technology that you can use to create fake employee entirely. And you can be a marionette. You basically have a set of people you orchestrate, and they're your agents. So there's agentic systems, and they're only just getting good enough to fool the average person. So you basically never turn your video on. You only do instant messaging. You put in context of the answers. It's actually fairly, if you look at what's done in a day, you can replicate that quite easily. And the coding as well, the code generation systems now, you get better code from some of them than you do from the people. Yeah. It's probably better than some of my code used to be, but anyway.
So on the threat intelligence side, on the threat assessment side, I'd say no, not yet. From a lot of the platforms that we use to tell us about hackers, the threat actors, what they're doing, they've all built in, they've all added an AI function to what they're doing, but so far. A bit like with your Google searches or whatever, it can provide useful summaries. It can speed things up. It can help assimilate a certain amount of data, but it's not, the output it's providing isn't foolproof enough, I don't think, to take the human analyst's place yet. And I don't know quite how quickly that's going to happen, but and it's all happened quite quickly. Yeah, I've definitely got my eye on it, as it may yet be replaced by a bot. But
I was actually worried about the threat, but actually, yeah,
well, that is a threat too.
The bad actors, but to jobs, I think that's across the board, isn't it? And yeah, we need to make sure the humans in the room.
Yeah, so AI is a major change from a socio-economic standpoint, but it's contrary to popular belief. It's not like swept the landscape of the common threat vectors, because people still do the basics. The analogy I would give is that when the internet came about in the 90s, criminals all didn't suddenly hop on the internet and change fraud into online fraud. It took a number of years for that transition to happen. Obviously now virtually all fraud has some kind of online component, and I imagine the AI transition, it'll be something similar. We are seeing criminals use AI a lot more, but as mentioned already, they usually for things like social engineering. So obviously I'm not going to tell you how to do this, but there are AI platforms out there which don't have the guardrails that ChatGPT has. And it's very easy for criminals to say, I want to target Bob, he works at this company, write me a spear phishing email he's likely to click on. And some AI platforms do that very easily. So it kind of disrupts the business model of some cybercriminal gangs as well. For those that don't know, the way that ransomware used to work, well, it still predominantly works, is that there's a more geeky threat actor, criminal, who develops a strain of malware, which is then syndicated by a lesser skilled organized crime gang. With the onset of AI, AI can generate malicious code now. So we can have criminals who create their own code, then syndicate it themselves without being overly technical themselves. So it's good and bad. And going back to Seth's point, there are ways that AI is introduced into cybersecurity solutions. You know, it automates processes. So there's lots of benefits to look forward to with AI, but also new dangers as well.
Great, thank you guys. So I think it's probably time to move into our kind of workshopy bit and let you talk to all our attendees. So let me check my time. I don't know where are we? Yes, we're fine. So what we usually do is 10 minutes per question. So if you can, we've got 4 tables. This one over here in the corner is going to be on the webcast. So it'd be great to have a small gang over there who stay over there. If anyone's happy to be on the webcast. How many people we got online, Cam? 3 people. It's not the BBC, it's fine. So yeah, if we could have a group over there in that corner, that would be great. And then what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So if we can move into tables, and if I can ask my guests to, actually, there's only 3. Yeah. So can we combine into this big one here, and then can this kind of join, or should we not have a guest on one? Need to think of my feet here. Let's work it out. I think this might be too big otherwise. Can some of you guys go over to that table? And then we'll try and join these 2 together. Is that right? Okay. Okay, 5 minutes to get ourselves sorted. Go. Yeah. If I can have 3 or 4 people join that table. Anyone up for going over there? Yeah, okay, thanks.
I'm a non-camera gal.
Okay.
That's okay.
Were you merging into one table?
Yes. So yeah, come around. Yeah. We'll start here.
Yeah, I'll go straight. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you got that one. Okay, go on. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Let me get it for you. Want you to take one of these? Take a coffee chair. Got it? Thanks. Cam, am I still on? Yeah. Yeah. So there's 4 questions. Oh, there's 4 questions, and you can work around these, but it's a bit low. Isn't it? What are the different jobs that exist in cyber? What skills are most useful or valued? And we touched on that. What learning or work experience will help me get my first break, and how do I go about getting a job? And you can play around these and talk about careers and whatever else. Try and write down in each section, someone scribe and write down key things, and we'll feed that back. It's because I used to work in a college, and this is how we did things. This is how you learn. You write things down. So if we take the first question, and then we'll have 10 minutes just broadly chatting. If you can write down the title on the paper, someone. What are the different jobs that exist in cyber? And maybe you can touch on how things are changing, and kind of like what are the future jobs, and talk around the subject. So you got 10 minutes to talk through. Feel free to flex. Yeah, so we'll take 10 minutes on each. So for this one, what are the different jobs that exist in cyber? And you can add to that how they're changing and what's going to be the future jobs to make it a bit more interesting. All right? Yeah.
Cool. So you're not going to be on the speed.
Time at 10 minutes.
I always wondered what are the different fields that they are under cybersecurity, because it's really broad. Sometimes they are related to blockchains, sometimes they're related to science, and they're different websites. So I want to know what are the different.
That term, cyber, is so nebulous as to cover everything. It's from awareness, it's from people training. I mean, you can see from the three of us on stage, we've got very different jobs. The threat and vulnerability to the awareness training, to me, who's sort of like generalist. I started as a technologist first, and then the rest of it just fit in. Yeah, so it's just making it up as you go along, but targeted to what the marketplace wants. So it's always one eye on earning good money, having a sort of stable job and a future. So what are the different skills we've got here? Your Met College? Yeah. So what would you like to do?
Cybersecurity.
So what's your strength?
Forensics. I just struggle with code.
I'm going to put it there and there. I'm going to crank it, and I think it will work.
Well, it's sort of commercial. Oh, yes. Co-op.
Yeah.
And it's a third one. There's three. Yeah, they have. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm ex-government, because I've worked at Home Office and HMRC. Yeah. So you've got forensics, you've got governance, risk and compliance. That's a stale term, isn't it? Governance, risk and compliance completely turns you off. Yeah. I mean, it's one phrase that just makes you, but at the same time, it's something that if you're not coding and you're looking at stories, say stories of risk, because my job now is risk. So if you have to put a risk profile, on a particular system. So that could be a people system, so an HR system. So it's really quite wide.
There are a lot of this happened to me, phishing emails that happen when you're an employee, like you say, that pretend that they're your boss or one above.
Yes.
And you're a new starter. This is actually a targeted scam that I've actually been had done to me when I was a few years younger, 20 years ago. And that would be that company not having robust cybersecurity on their IT.
Yeah.
At the time. But when but then they explained to me. I'm like, no, it's not the case.
Well, that's really awful. The blame thing. I mean, it's the
that does fall into scams too, because it's they managed to get my email.
Yes.
Somehow.
Yes. I mean, this is the dark web gets every email. If you look at the number of phishing attempts that come into our organisation, it's immense, and they're really quite good. They say, it's they call it whaling, where they look at the biggest person in the company and they said, oh, so and so has asked for money to be put into an account, but they're a bit better than that because they've done the research into the finance company, finance department, and they know how money is moved in that company, and they really target that specifically to those people. So there's sort of training and awareness. Yeah. So training and awareness is something that's there. There's audits. sort of like audit and compliance.
So when we speak, can
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's audit and compliance, which is then you do as standards. Yes, it's ISO 27001 and ones of that nature. And there's technical, which is technical, so it's security engineers. There's comms. So so you're.
I'm teaching. So I mean, you could say that that's another role.
Where's
Well,
teaching?
it's education.
Yes.
Not specifically cyber, but it's an element of the course that we run.
And what do you do for a living?
sorry, so to answer that, if people are aware from your age about like gender phishing scams when they enter the workplace, especially when you start, then I think less people would fall for it because it was very sophisticated and it wasn't to be at the time that seemed like
It's personal.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean that there's a level of paranoia that you adopt in life that sometimes can be useful. Yeah.
Well, that's what they hone in on, fear.
The fear that you have to do the right thing, i.e., you're going to do what the boss says.
Yeah, or you're going to lose money, or something's going to happen to you, so you need to act urgently, without really giving it a great deal of thought.
Yeah. So we've got forensics, e-commerce, governance, risk, and compliance, which is quite wide areas. So different skills in each. So if you're good at tech, then you may go into technical security. It depends what you like. So what's your ideal job look like?
Can there be automation? For example, we have detected that there is kind of a vulnerability that we have identified. So if we can automate that process and mitigate in the near future, so could there be a possibility there?
It's vulnerabilities, the vulnerability assessment and analysis, and this is sort of hacking. So you're patching and hacking. Yeah. And that comes under the technical line. So there's also, let's say AI. Yeah. Because what I find is that's helping all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
So have you used AI at all?
Would malware be under that as well?
Malware is, say, technical security, forensics. So you've got malware, but the detection of malware, you've got the technical security with antivirus, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you've got AV. So all of these, there's technologies, but then there's things that people do as a job of work. So if you're, say, a banker or finance, that's banking and finance first. And then you layer on top of it the automation that comes along. So the AI, if that helps your, have you heard of Copilot? So that's going to come in to help you do whatever. Yeah, it's going to put you on steroids to do with all of that. So it's really what you want. And then if you're addicted to change like me, it's a no-brainer. But not everyone's like that. So your ideal might be governance, risk, and compliance. Yeah, or possibly audits. Yeah. Oh, but this is focus on your strengths. What you're good at. Always, yeah. Always first is what I was good at, and then layer on top of that the opportunities that are open to you. Yeah, you start from a position of strength, and then you get confident with everything else. Yeah.
So I have a question. So do you mean by cyber right now are they related to all of these fields that we were talking about?
Yeah.
So how does it differ from one field to another? Like say, for example, from education to e-commerce, and for example, from auditing to governance and compliance. Like how each one, or how much would they be, and the risk of
Yeah, so governance, risk and compliance could be applied to any of those because it's a function. It's like a function that overlooks. Yeah, so it's a management function. Whereas some of the other ones don't.
Yeah.
Not that strict.
Conversations.
So we had to talk about M&S and Co-op because that was people phoning up the IT help desk and fooling them, saying, give us a password for so-and-so, or change my password, or just, yeah, that's how they got it. Easy. And did you hear about the MS Teams? They were saying, show yourself on camera and don't, yeah, because they were telling everyone, because they had guests, unwanted guests.
Can my panelists all please stand up and all move one to your right? Daniel, you come around here. There we go. If you can move to that one. Sorry to pull you away. Laura, stop talking. No, final thought.
We do.
I'm going to
Hello.
move you around. Down over there. So can we now tackle the next question, which is what skills are most useful or valued? So we have 10 minutes to explore that with our panelists, and then we'll do it again. Okay, go.
Right. What do we think?
That's very depending on the area that we're talking about, it's going to depend on the skill. Some are going to be technical, some not necessarily as much. So networking is obviously a skill, coding is a skill. Psychology is a skill. That's what most hackers play on is human psychology. So an understanding of
who wants to write
psychology.
psychology? Okay.
Networking. Yeah.
Networks.
Networks, communication.
Actually, when we're talking about these skills, it's probably worth exploring as well. How you how you implement those skills and what they actually do for you as a cybersecurity.
So why would we have psychology?
Sorry. A lot of certainly phishing scams, the hackers play on human psychology.
Absolutely.
So to have an understanding of that is going to help you if you're trying to mitigate those risks. Certainly in education.
For example, like I think most of phishing emails, they're depending on the tone and on the tone of being either professional or not. And they even sending the link and how they start opening the email with mentioning, for example, the username of the user and a phishing email makes them feel more confident.
Exactly.
Or even when the email feels like more marketing or
more authentic. And that's what we typically see as well. It's like criminals use as much information known about you before they.
It's not the VPN that you check when someone's like when you get a scam email. It's the to check whether their like email address is legitimate. And most of the time, I can't remember what that's called.
The domain,
The domain, the email domain is like legitimate because a lot of the time it will be like completely unrelated to the name that they, because obviously you can change the name that you have on your email, but it won't be related to what it is, so it's like illegitimate.
Yeah, nhs@hotmail.com. Absolutely.
So like you say, having an awareness of that.
From communication
Mhm.
and communicating with the people within the organization, and trying, for example, to detect or to highlight, for example, a risk that you can see that is coming up while you're working. How can you communicate that with, for example, non-technical people at all? And because I feel that for example, in working in software engineering, I can describe an algorithm, which is I can give examples with, but in cybersecurity, I feel that the algorithms they're sometimes complicated. And I want to ask a question about quantum computing, but it is afterwards. But how do you think that communication can be easier with communicating the threats that you can see within?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think you have to speak plain English. And I think in this industry, especially in IT in general, people just throw around technical terms so much, or like acronyms. You have to understand is that when you're speaking with leadership teams, you're speaking with people who aren't as technical as potentially we are, you've got to speak their language. So rather than bombarding them with technical jargon, speak plain English. Because if you're scaring people, they are going to switch off. And if they switch off, they're not going to be implementing the advice you give to keep them or the business safe. So you're absolutely right. Like how you convey a message is really important. And just going back to human psychology, like the way you convey that message is super essential because humans are very messy beings. We are very, very bad at planning for long-term things. We much like to see busy things and act in the short term. So one of the things that I do when I talk to businesses, we give free cybersecurity training. I don't call it free. I say fully funded because it implies there's value in it because it's funded. If it's free, there's no value. So little wins like that are really important. Or I say to people that our guidance is 5 random word passwords, but actually you can get away with 3. And people will implement that because they think they're getting a good deal. They're cutting down on 5. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the comm stuff is really important in this space. And if you don't get that right, you're going to be somewhat interchangeable with loads of other technical people. And I think the comm stuff, how you present yourself to the world, makes a difference massively, at least in my experience.
And do you think that with AI, be a necessity as a skill, like use AI in cybersecurity will be a necessity in the job market?
I think it depends on the role. I think AI has its place in cybersecurity as like a tool, because as we know, like one of the biggest threats in cybersecurity is the human. It's the employee click on a link. And if there's less employees who are responsible for X or Y process, by definition, there's less of a threat surface. So where AI can automate things, it reduces the threat surface, but also it can be used, as we mentioned, in malice as well. So criminals can use AI to draft spear phishing emails. So I think that the nature of the role in the next few years going forward, you're going to see more spear phishing, which is where criminals use information known about the target, which is enabled by AI, versus what we had in the past, where it'd be like, this is the nhs@hotmail.com, you've got an important thing to click on this link. I think they're going to get more sophisticated. So I think an understanding of how AI is being used in the future will be essential, absolutely.
Yeah. I would definitely. I know I'm race to what we're saying now, but like, the targeted people is always like vulnerable people. And I'm thinking about the like every parcel ones, or what, like there were loads of different parcel scams at the time. That even I got like emails and text messages from, and I was just like, I haven't ordered anything, but if I had, I'd be like, what is this? So it does make you like take.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking as well when people target the most vulnerable in our society.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, this is more for the older generation, which I suppose I'm part of, but not the older generation. They have a strong element of trust in authority.
Yes.
So if somebody presents themselves as an authority figure, they generally trust them. So the thing that I try and teach, certainly my mother, who's in her 90s, is skepticism. I think that's a good skill, is to have a strong sense of skepticism. Don't trust things just from face value.
Yeah, absolutely. Never assume, always verify.
Yeah,
It's this
exactly.
key message in cyber.
Yeah.
And it's quite easily accessible, isn't it, for everyone? Don't trust this person unless you know who they are. Absolutely. But one of the worst the scams we deal with at the moment is like it's called courier fraud, where criminals will basically say, "Hi, I'm Chief Inspector Bob Allen. I'm doing a top secret investigation. I need you to get some gift cards for me. Don't contact the police." But people fall for it, like because they're vulnerable. But it's exactly.
You only need
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why people do it, because there's the financial incentive.
What do you think, or what skills would you recommend start learning, and that they would be more demanded in the future in the job of the cybersecurity?
So I think with certificates, at least, I would say start off with CC. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. It's done by ISC Squared, and it's a free online certificate you can get. So I wrote it down, yeah, sure. So it's basically a free online course. I think it's funded by the government to feed the shortage of cyber roles in the UK, or cyber professionals in the UK. It's called CC, or Certified in Cyber. My handwriting's terrible, I'm sorry. But that's a really good, I suppose I can describe it as a foot in the door, just to show that you know the basics and you can kind of put your knowledge into some kind of practical exam which you complete. Then there's Security Plus by CompTIA. That's quite a popular one in the UK industries. There's CISMP, which is by the British Computer Society. There's loads of little certificates like that. The problem that we have in cyber, and I think it's more of a broader recruitment issue, is that HR recruiters, they look for keywords. Like when they receive hundreds of resumes or CVs every day, they scan. Yeah, they scan for the buzzwords. They want to see, like, do you have Security Plus? Do you have CC? So sometimes, as unpleasant as it is, I would recommend getting the certificates just because you want to get your foot in the door. But for me, like, these certificates aren't going to be what gets you the job. What gets you the job is your interview skills. Like, are you able to bring value to the organization? Do you know how to interview well? You can communicate well. That's what makes you stand out, I find, in these kind of things. But it's really difficult for juniors because there's a lot of people applying for the same positions. But once you get a few years of experience, it's so much easier. So get your foot in the door, and obviously you can do what I did. Like, I volunteered for a year. And I mean, we've got vacancies in the police on occasion for volunteers. There's other organizations that you can volunteer for as well, like the West Sussex County Council. They have like a digital ambassador program, I believe, as well, which is a voluntary thing. I don't know if they still do it, but that's an element of cyber exposure. Then when you go to the industry, you can say, look, I've been volunteering for a year. Not only does that show that you've got practical skills in implementing these kind of things, but also that your heart's in it as well. And that's such an underappreciated value in what recruiters look for. They want to see the passion, they want to see fire. And when you've demonstrated that by volunteering, it really does make a difference. It makes you stand out.
Like when you, even from volunteering, most of them, they say that we're not getting anything out of it, but it's actually the experience is much more important than the money at the beginning. And I think like team working and these things, they only gained through experience.
And one of the things I'd recommend as well, like, because I appreciate getting certificates is quite a big step. You can do home labs as well. Like, you can have a virtual machine at home that you mess around with. You could teach yourself how to code. I mean, coding's not essential at all in cyber, no matter what anyone tells you. But you can learn how to do some code stuff. There's things that you can do at home. There's GitHub as well, so you can do your own like projects online that you can have. Just showing some kind of aptitude for it is really good.
Thank you.
All right. Oh wow. What did we say? Well, nice to see you.
Thanks.
How's it going? Doing good.
It's about what learning or work experience is going to help me get my first break. So if I've got to get some qualifications, let's talk about that. If qualifications aren't the thing, then what's going to be the thing? Like, what kind of job should I be looking for that's going to build me up and get into cyber? If it's not immediately to cyber, but what are the traditional routes through? Working in banking or working in finance or whatever. So, having to go around what jobs or qualifications can help you get ready for a career in cyber.
Certifications.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a bad person to ask about this because I think maybe my path was a bit, I don't know, bit odd, or it's a bit. When I started in cyber back in 2006, when it wasn't even called cyber, it was called e-crime or e-commerce or all these sorts of things, right? No one in 2006, organizations weren't really thinking about cybersecurity, and it was a bit of a weird geeky thing in the corner. It was just IT security and just let people get on with it. And I got into cyber crime investigations because I'd done a Russian degree. And turned out that the best cyber criminals were Russian speakers. So the law enforcement agency that I went to work with, just they wanted someone who spoke Russian and knew a bit about law enforcement, which was me. And from that kind of got me into a job in cyber threat intelligence, which is a role within a cybersecurity department. So I can't really answer this question that helpfully, but I have some young new starters in my team who have done IT degrees. They've come into work at my organisation, and then they got a sort of industrial placement through the degree at my bank, and then they got onto a grad scheme, sort of grad recruitment scheme at the bank, and then they said, well, actually, what I'm interested in is cybersecurity, and then they got moved into the cybersecurity department. So they sort of knew a bit enough about IT and the IT department, and that was enough to get them sort of a start in cybersecurity. I think the thing with certificates and especially with certificates, I think the use of it obviously is that it shows you know about these, whatever it is the certificate's for. It will give you something to talk about in your interview. You'll be able to say, well, I did this and this is what I've done with it. But my understanding is that what's as useful, perhaps even more useful, is experience, which is obviously hard. Like if you're trying to get started, get your first place. But I think having like the question up there talks about work experience. I think potentially being able to say, well, I've done this bit of work experience in this field is also really, really useful. Yeah.
But how do you first get into that role? In order to get into in order to gain some work experience, you need to just get into that role first. Right?
I guess it's always the question, isn't it? Well, how do I can't get the job without the experience, but I can't get the experience without the job. It's the eternal cycle of the new starter. I mean, off the top of my head, you could look for sort of volunteering opportunities in whatever the area is. There will be charities, there'll be NGOs, there'll be organisations that do sort of cyber stuff and might want you to do something but they're not going to pay you. So obviously that's a bit can be difficult to do. Or wherever it is you are working, if you are working somewhere already, is that you try and look for that sort of development opportunity. You sort of say, well, look, this is my day job, but actually what I'm really interested in learning more about cyber, and you try and carve out a bit of space at an afternoon on a Friday, or, you know, if you've got a sympathetic line manager who's interested in developing you, which they should be, and the demands of the job and the organisation allow for it, then that's another way, perhaps. Yeah, I guess you've got to kind of carve it out and somehow find a way, to get that little bit of experience that then you can put on your CV, you can put on your job application, and then you go into the interview and you say, yeah, I've done. Oh, let me tell you about the time I did this, and let me tell you about what a great result, what a great outcome there was. That's what you're looking to do,
Will machine learning be integrated into cybersecurity afterwards or not?
So, but sort of AI kind of thing, or
Yeah, like will AI be used in like machine learning, for example, or AI skills? How will they be used in cybersecurity? And also another question, the other part is, how can I also demonstrate this in my project, because I've never done a cybersecurity project, to be honest.
Right.
But most of the projects that I'm doing is just like normal coding projects. So how can I demonstrate, like, for example, a cybersecurity?
Well, I mean, there are certifications. There's CompTIA is a sort of common standard. I think it's an organisation, CompTIA, and they do a dozen different certificates, including a good number that are cybersecurity focused. So if you do them online, you do them in, you just do them yourself, and then you can say, I can show that you've got that certification that shows at least you've learned something about cybersecurity, even though you've not worked in cybersecurity. Does that answer the second question? Yeah. So the first question about machine learning and AI, absolutely. I think machine learning is AI is clearly one of the great things it does is it can assimilate large amounts of information and summarize it for you, and you can query it and it will tell you the answer to your question in a clear way. As we know, sometimes it makes things up as well. So but I think one of the roles in cybersecurity is being a network defender. That involves looking at the network alerts that are being generated and investigating those alerts to see is it false or is it true? Has something bad happened, or is it just a false alarm? I worked as a network defender for a year, and vast amount of that job was about trawling through log data from the email logs, the network, the firewall logs, the process logs from the operating system or from applications. We had tools that helped us, but it was a very manual job, and I think it's inevitable that AI and machine learning will help us. It'll be maybe automate it, but also it will be a co-pilot. I mean, that's what it looks like to me at the moment. I think generally AI looks to be, I mean, it's going to replace some things, but I think for a lot of things it's going to be a helper and an assistant, because you need the sensible human and the qualified human who can understand the results that the AI is giving you. So I think in my role as my sort of primary role as a threat analyst, I mean, the organizations could just rely on ask the AI, tell me which threat actor is most likely to hack me tomorrow, but actually the answers aren't always going to be clear. I mean, I think there's always going to need to be a human sitting next to that, interpreting it for Yeah, and I think that is true across a lot of the cybersecurity areas. Yeah, in the short, medium term.
Do you think that
Speaking to that.
Do you think that skills matter more in as an entry level, or networking would matter more in the cybersecurity field?
Networking.
Networking
Do you
or
mean in terms of
skills?
getting to know people, or
Yeah,
right?
in terms to know people from an entry level point of view.
I think the thing about getting to know people in the field that you're interested in or the organizations that you're interested in is that they can help tell you when jobs are coming up, perhaps, or they can tell you and they can kind of give you some ideas perhaps about the culture of the organization, and that can help you prepare your answers in the interview. Not in a cheating way, but just in a different organizations talk about things differently. They think about things differently. And if you've got a friend on the inside who obviously they don't know what the interview is going to ask you, but they can kind of tell you, well, this is how we look at network security, or this is how we look at firewalls, or I don't know, whatever the topic is, then that will give you a little advantage, because if you're talking the same language as the people behind the table, that's a good thing. Yeah. So networking's always getting to know people in the sector you're interested in is always a good idea, whether you're starting out or established.
How valuable is sector experience? So you work in banking.
Yeah.
So people that work in cyber.
Yeah.
In your industry.
Yeah.
Having a background in banking, is that a key skill, important?
Not necessarily. I mean, so before I was at Nomura, I was at the Bank of England, which is the central bank. So it's finance sector, but it's not commercial. But oh God. Yes, I'm mid answer. I'm flowing here. Sort of the same thing, isn't it? So it did, having been at the Bank of England, and so I knew a bit about the finance sector. So that was definitely useful in my interview, and yeah, when since then I mean, it's always good to know a bit about the area you're working. Yeah, it's not a disadvantage. But one thing that really struck me when I moved from the Bank of England to Nomura was how similar the cybersecurity setup was. The teams were named slightly differently, and the functions were kind of perhaps it was organised slightly differently, but the basic building blocks were the same. So I think certainly in terms of cybersecurity, I think once you start working cybersecurity, wherever you go, the structure to some extent is very similar. But yeah, I mean, it's never going to hurt having sector knowledge. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because obviously, the more you know about what you're trying to defend, the better, I'd say. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think the best way of getting into security is? Like uni, apprenticeships?
I gave a very wishy-washy answer up there. I'm going to have to give another one. I think it totally varies and depends, and I think each person can find their own way. I think so. I think you do apprenticeships, and then you get some actual, presumably you get hands-on sort of work experience through an apprenticeship, and then that looks and sounds great, and then that. Often once you start working in one place, that's when other opportunities, you become aware about other opportunities. It's so that can be a really good path. I think, like people where I work now, so Nomura has a great grad scheme, as do a lot of the organisations in the UK finance sector. So yeah, I think there seem to be opportunities there for IT graduates to, if you can get onto that grad scheme, which seems, if you've done the summer intern, the industrial placement on that course, then that gives you a bit of a leg up to get into the grad scheme, it seems, as well. Partly because you've already been inside the organisation. So again, when you're in the interview, you kind of talk the talk. Yeah, so I think they're all good schemes. And as I've said, my path involved neither of those things really. So I can't really speak about from experience on that. But from having now been in cybersecurity for nearly 10 years, yeah, I think they both seem like there's lots of good ways into cyber. I think it's yeah, it's you give it a go and just you have to keep trying all these things. I think things are rarely easy. I think it's kind of hard work and a bit of luck as well. Yeah, so that's probably not a very helpful answer, is it?
Steve?
I think we've covered quite a lot of this already.
Not really a question, but I think a good way of getting into it is through voluntary work, because especially, I mean, Riley was looking at like a course with the Navy. It's voluntary, but you're getting hands-on in cybersecurity, and you're building a network at the same time, and you could always go up a step from that voluntary work.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think skills, experience. I mean, it's. I guess it's whatever you can do to make yourself look interesting on your CV and on that job application, and then interesting and suitable, and then have a good story to tell when you get in there about, well, there was this time I did this and the result was X, Y, and Z, and everyone loved me, and it was tea and medals all around. Oh, and let me tell you about this other time I did this thing and it was really great. That's it's building up that store of experiences and good stories to tell. Yeah, success stories, I think. Yeah.
The one thing I try and educate my students in, it's not just necessarily about the skills. It's the aptitudes that a lot of companies are looking for, so that you can demonstrate that you've done volunteering, you can demonstrate that you're continuously learning, demonstrating all manner of behaviors that demonstrates that you are passionate about getting into that particular industry.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's fundamentally important?
Yes. Yeah, I think I mean, that's showing that you know how to learn, which I guess is what a lot of formal qualifications are an indication of, that you can keep learning, you know how to learn, and through that learning reach the bar to pass that qualification. That shows the employer that when you get into the job and then everything changes and you need to learn a load of new things, that you'll be able to do that. So yeah. And yeah, I think showing that you've got a genuine interest in it, so through some little side project or that you've that all helps with that too. Yeah.
So from what I got about the skills and things of how I can prove that I had for entry level are all about certifications. And I'm assuming that everyone is doing certifications after this event. So how can each one stand out beside the certifications?
Yes. Well, I think if you what you see on what I've seen on so like on LinkedIn, or on some job application forms, that there'll be a field for your personal website, right? So that they're giving you that opportunity to sort of say, oh look, well here's a sort of, besides the certificates, here's a little project that I worked on, or here's the thing that I did that shows the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. I guess that can help you stand out. Yeah.
I think this is more of a front end, like this is the way that I'm thinking about. I'm not sure about it.
Yeah.
I think it is more of a front end than the UI UX experiment. They were hiring someone to show my website.
I don't. Yeah, sorry. No, I don't mean I built a website. I mean the website. Perhaps then it's sethking.com, and then it has other links off to, here's a bit of research I did, or here's here's my, I don't know, I mean, this is a silly example, but here's a list of the open source intelligence research tools that I use, or or something like that. Not just I built a website, but it's the website is the showcase of stuff that you've done. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's just, I'm not saying do that. It's just that sort of thing.
And if the cybersecurity or cyber projects, how do I start working on them?
How do I? Sorry.
How do I start working on the cyber projects?
Yeah.
What
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of different tools and resources that are used in cybersecurity. I wouldn't say. So I don't particularly use anything massively technical. One of the things that my particular area is, say, cyber threat intelligence. So there are lots of a lot of the commercial cyber threat intelligence providers, so like Mandiant, or not sure about CrowdStrike, but anyway, there's lots of companies that spend a lot of time collecting information, analyzing and producing reports about hackers, hacking groups, and so on. They offer paid for services, but they offer a lot of free services as well. I think about, I mean, I'm biased because I'm coming from a CTI background, but I would look into them, sign up to some of them, and start perhaps learning about the world of cyber threat intelligence. Who are the hacking groups that are out there? If you've got a particular sector that you'd like to go and work in, like, I don't know, the finance sector or the energy sector, or I don't know, for whatever reason, learn about who are the threat actors targeting that sector. Then that tells you that's something for you to go into to interview and say, look, I understand the threat to your organisation, because I've researched it, because I love cyber threat intelligence.
On this table.
So can I say a feedback?
You can feedback.
Yeah.
Does anyone? Did you have a question or anything?
Say the feedback.
Wait. Oh no! I just got a question.
We just got a question. I say the feedback.
Jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Search machine.
I mean, so in terms of how to search for cybersecurity jobs, a lot of the jobs that I've taken or looked for, I've been through LinkedIn. I find LinkedIn is pretty amazing for cyber. A lot of the recruiters are on LinkedIn, and then I don't know. It depends what you want to, what sort of area you're interested in. I mean,
There's no real entry jobs in cyber, so you
right.
maybe networking.
Right.
But I don't know. Would I just go on Indeed and look for network administrative jobs, for example? So that's where I'm a bit like.
Yeah. It's a good question. I'll need to think about that. Yeah.
We'll have a bit of time to chat afterwards.
Yeah.
Mike, shall I do Mike? Right. there's been a huge amount of really, really interesting chat. Can we all round up? Because we're going to feed back now just on the key takeaways that we've had on our table. I've been listening in to some of these chats and I've learned quite a lot just walking around about red teams, blue teams. And yeah, really, really interesting. Lots of good stuff going on. So what I'd like is one person from each table who has already volunteered to feedback just on what the key takeaways were. So from this table, if you'd like to go first.
My feedback is that from what I knew today is that, and it especially really new for me, that under cyber, there are not only technical jobs, there are also a lot of social engineering and a lot of more of awareness job rules that they actually exist. And showing your how also standing out doesn't only depending on knowing some certain hashing algorithms or something like that. It also depends on how aware you are about, for example, some groups, and also your readings, and also demonstrating your skills not only through technical but also through communication. And that's my insight, I think.
Is there anything else from this table? Key things that came out? No? Okay, thank you. So from this table.
So yeah, for us, some of the key feedback points. So for the jobs, it came back that it was more of a collaborative affair than maybe you might have thought cyber was. So red teaming, purple teaming, blue teaming, as opposed to solitary penetration testing. And for skills that are most useful, we decided that communication is probably the most useful, being able to storytell and tell decision makers what's happening and what it's about. And so for learning work experience, yeah, being self-driven, self-teaching, always staying with the fashionable kind of AI, keeping up to date with what's happening and applying widely are the most useful things.
Can I ask one of the guests on the communication side of things, do you have to sort of tame it back as to not like set the hairs running with senior management, or do you want to communicate straight away there's a problem? You know, what's the sort of the balance you find?
Knowing your audience, I mean, there's risk. I mean, this afternoon I had to present a sort of a risk, quite a serious risk of a system. There's ways of doing that without blaming, because technical debt is a word for haven't done it right and haven't done anything about it for a very long time. Something that can't be fixed straight away. So you've got those sort of gnarly, sort of like festering risks, and then you add sort of Buckaroo. I don't know if you ever played that game. It's sort of like you just go woof. At that point, you've got to present that sort of analogy. So you're saying actually that's probably a level that you need senior sign off for, and a risk remediation plan to sort out. So you've got to put it in there. I mean, and then the context of using a dodgy AI like DeepSeek for customer information, you've got to say no in a sort of like an absolute way. So what the hell are you doing?
Like that technical debt, that's a really good term. Like we haven't done enough. It's like got rising damp in your walls. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and this table.
Sure. So just to start on the job side, we had a experienced team, so we got through quite a lot of it. And one of the interesting parts is, like was mentioned before, it's not just the specific your skills, but all the different other roles that are parts of a team that come together. Like you have the auditing side, you have the bug bouncing side, you've got, and cybersec isn't like just one person with like this incredible high technical level, but all this team of individuals who are doing their part. And with the skill side, we kind of noticed, and we kind of, I think, focused around both communication, just like you guys down there, but we kept coming back to the sort of the analytical mind, the problem solving, the breaking things apart, the asking questions kind of thing, which I think is kind of what we expected. But the coolest part, I think, is when we got to the job side. Because you think, oh, here's all the LinkedIn things to do. No, it was, what are all the technologies? What are all the activities, like from programming to gaming to all this other thing, that develop skills parallelly, or those solutions have a security side? And if you are there long enough, or you are there with the right intent, you kind of can breach into cybersecurity from your area of expertise. And I think that was quite insightful. So thank you for sharing that with us. And yeah.
There's one job that you've got down here which is really timely: incident response. So the hacks that you've had with M&S, etc., the headless chicken time, and the guys go in and sort of like you have a sort of incident room, and they run the show. So there's a whole career around orchestrating that sort of activity around incident response, and that's growing, unfortunately.
So with M&S, was that an M&S team that flew in, or is there like a like the A team?
I think it's probably manned into something.
Yeah. Yeah. Who'd you call if that happens? Ghostbusters. Yeah. I mean, is there a team? They're like the specialists, like the Wolf. Yeah. Yeah.
That then took out every PC. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the most important companies in the world.
Yeah.
CrowdStrike.
Yeah.
Stuffing nulls into the operating system of Windows.
Yeah.
It's always Windows, by the way. I'm not saying.
Other computers are available. That's super interesting. So I think that rounds it up for tonight. There's been some really good conversations, some really great feedback from each table. I'll take a picture of these and post them out, but feel free to take pictures of them, and if you want them, take it away with you. Let me bring up. So I will remind you, one I didn't say at the beginning, if you don't know about Silicon Brighton and everything that they do, they're an amazing organization that is pretty much run by volunteer meetup groups like this. I would really encourage you to look into going to some of the other ones, depending on your interest. They've got marketing and data and software development and millions of others. And they'll all be here. So I think these tickets are at the moment half price anyway. They're early bird. So if you scan that, I think you get them for 20. These are 20. Yeah. So they're normally 40. Okay.
Well, if you're a Brighton Med student. Oh, I see. But there's also this code for a student.
I'd really encourage you to come along, and I think we're going to have a tech jumpstart corner where we have sort of careers chat and all this kind of stuff with all the different people who are there. So I'd really encourage you to come along to that and have a look at Silicon Brighton's events page as well. So thank you to my panel, Seth, Daniel, and Az. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone else for coming along and participating so brilliantly in it. I haven't got the date of the next one, as is traditional. I'll post it out. It'll be in a couple of months' time. But thank you everyone for coming tonight. Thanks a lot.